Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, roll call.
Harry Young.
Bill Palmer, Parks Thompson.
Nick Crab. Nick Crab.
Anybody
Abby
online?
Simpson.
Abby.
We should have a quorum with, Abby Young.
Roll call. Run just in time.
Tiffany Gatesman.
Perfect.
Okay. Can we make a motion to approve the agenda? Second. All in favor? Aye. Are there any additions to our? Anybody want to make an addition to the agenda today? No? Okay.
I feel like I did. I don't know how to word it though. I don't think there's anything to attach. Community engagement, just a couple of snippets on community engagement. It's my request if we have time. If not, I can wait.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it is a pretty full agenda, so we can see if we can get to that during updates, and otherwise there's a few things even on our agenda that I think we're really gonna be diving into.
Sounds good.
And it looks like we have Greg online as well.
Do we want him to say his name and tap in?
I got him on the minutes. We're fine.
Got him. Okay.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Greg. Then we should probably just move straight into open forum. Do we have anybody for open forum? Okay. Someone want to make a motion to discussion and possible action? Huh?
The agenda.
Oh. Oh, we have to approve the minutes. That's right. Someone want to make a motion for that?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so discussion and possible action. Grand Resources Incubator Project, Ryan Peterson, and Taro Group. That'll be you.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. My name is Ryan Peterson, Senior Project Manager with Antero Group. Thank you all for having me here today. As the chair mentioned, I'm here to talk about the Grand Resources Incubator Project. We've taken it to calling it RIP, just for the sake of simplicity. So I'll be talking through that today. I believe we have some slides up here that I'll run through. I'm going to try to keep it to 30 minutes. I know you do have a full agenda. At any point, if you have any questions after the presentation, I'm happy to have a conversation with you via Zoom or a call to discuss other ideas that you might have and brainstorm in that direction. So just a little bit about that. We are working with Diane Butler from Grand County on this project. She is our client. And we are now in the data collection and feasibility stage of the project. So right now, we are currently looking at what industries make the most sense for a business incubator and where they make the most sense in the towns or unincorporated areas of Grand County. If you're not familiar with the business incubator, it is basically a place where small businesses, home-based businesses can have a brick and mortar place to go to or to share resources, to learn more, to network. We are focusing mostly on outdoor recreation. We want to keep some of those from leaking out to the Front Range and other places within the state and keep those within Grand County as our main goal for this incubator project. Our data is also showing us where we can create more opportunities for different industries based on where the county is deficient. Some of those industries include RNAs, CNAs, people in the medical fields, and then HVAC, contractors, things like that, where we've seen there is a deficiency for those industries. Perfect. And then I'm going to be going through somewhat fast, but feel free to stop me at any time. I will just keep going if you don't. So feel free to do that at any point. Happy to discuss as well.
Okay.
No problem. A little bit about the agenda today. We'll go over some of the meetings we've had so far with some of our other business owners, our engagement plan so far, and some of the data we've collected.
while we're trying to get the presentation to cooperate, I'll just chime in. I met with Diane Butler from Grand County Economic and Ryan last week, and they kind of filled me in on the project. I've talked with Diane a little bit about it in the past. But Ryan was going to be up there this week working on this, and I suggested that this might be a good group just to throw around some ideas and get some insights, and see what you guys might think about the project and any thoughts you might be able to contribute. So.
Yeah. Excellent. I don't know if the clicker's working, but if we can just go to the next slide.
Here, can you point over here?
Sure.
Try one more time.
Oh, there we go. Cool. So a little bit of an overview. Four main goals of this, like I said, to provide tools, workspaces, and a centralized resource hub for new businesses, smaller businesses, home-based businesses to have that brick and mortar place. Those businesses that already exist in Grand County, maybe they're really good at woodworking or another industry or another trade. Maybe they aren't so good at marketing or accounting. We can centralize those in one place, have classes, have education, have ways to access those resources for businesses currently here. And then supporting industries like trade, construction, outdoor recreation, keeping them in Grand County is our main goal here. And then even some of the things that help contribute to the end product, it might not be the snowboard that you see on the shelves, but it could be some of those materials, pieces, part of those products that are created here, hopefully, and stay here in Grand County. And then, just like we met with Sarah, we want to build collaboration with local governments, organizations like yourself. The data can only tell us so much. You are the experts on Fraser, and we want to use that expertise to build out this plan and make it as successful as possible. So the project phases so far, we've done our due diligence. We've had some kickoff meetings, monthly check-ins with Diane. We're currently ending our second phase, which is our data collection. So we're looking at candidate sites, looking at the infrastructure types, things that we know we need will go into and that we need to access in order for this to be successful. And we're now going into phase 3, which is our feasibility study. So how much would a incubator cost? Where is it? What is the market kind of assessment of that? And how much money could this bring in for local communities like yourself? And then finally, we'll actually start implementing this, hopefully, towards next summer, possibly acquiring a site, designing that facility, and then marketing and how to fund it as well. And so we've had 2 meetings so far with what we're calling our think tank. These are local businesses, other elected officials, and staff at local governments. The first one really outlined what we want the incubator to be. We want it to be affordable. We wanted there to be mentoring, networking, and capital access as well. The target sectors that we've identified: outdoor manufacturing, outdoor recreation manufacturing, I should say, welding, trades, tech, healthcare, repair services. And this, again, that last bullet point, a second to last bullet point, this should be very much collaborative between local business leaders, real estate, development commissions, and educational groups as well. To the exact locations that came up were the former Granby Elementary site. There's probably too much asbestos in there, as we've started to learn, but that was something that came up during those conversations as well.
That's behind the,
Silver Creek.
what?
Yep.
Oh, that's like a condo complex?
Yes, sir. Mhm. Yes.
It has common areas?
Yes, there is actually a very large unused common area that they are trying to sell or trying to decide what to retrofit that for. That was an idea that did pop up.
What's great about both of those is the work central.
Exactly. Yep. And they're currently unused. So it would be a very easy, not easy retrofit, but it would be an easy kind of sell to make to those communities. Definitely. And then stakeholder meeting number 2, we really want to reflect the community value. So we want this to be for Grand Lake. We want to focus on keeping Grand Lake businesses here and not attracting other businesses. Yes, sir. Yes. Grand County. Yes. Did I say Grand Lake?
You did.
I apologize. And then a centralized business hub, as the committee member said, somewhere that is centralized, specialized, and can be accessed by the entirety of the county.
Oh, here, try.
Did I lose it?
No, try again.
There we go. Cool. And then our engagement plan, how are we going to go tell people about this? We've started this. So we have a business survey currently out. We've provided Sarah with that survey. If you would like to access that survey, fill it out yourself or tell other business owners about it. We'd be very much happy to provide you with social media copy, links, anything you need to spread the word on that. But what we really want to do is get people understanding what an incubator is, what it could mean for this county, and then start collaborating with some of the business owners currently here, and then weave that input into our final plan as well. and then hopefully start to identify some of the people that could occupy this incubator when we do finally work towards implementation as well. And so some milestones, project launch, survey open. We have formed our stakeholder group, and then the next milestone will be our draft recommendations. So we're gonna take some qualitative input and then put it against some quantitative input, and then create draft recommendations towards the springtime, probably March, April of 2026. And then we'll do our final engagement summary, and then the public results of that survey will be released. And then finally, we're hoping to identify some partnerships for implementation, and then final study approved, hopefully next summer. And then some of the methods of outreach, we've started that first column there, targeted meetings, small business owners, economic development partners, Chamber of Commerce, community and civic leaders like yourself. And then we want some discussion topics to include what are the challenges for starting up businesses, how can we overcome those barriers, and really what is the long-term sustainability of an incubator in Grant County. And then data collection and evaluation. This just goes over really the market analysis. This was our purpose. So we want to target in certain industries, find the strengths and weaknesses. And then the guiding questions, those three there, which industries show the strongest potential for growth? What services, facilities, and resources are needed to support them? And what or how should an incubator be designed to maximize community and economic impact? And then here's our findings. I won't go through all of these. I'll just touch on a few of them. I'll make sure this presentation is available to all of you if you'd like to go through it later on. There is a real dominance of service sectors here in Grand County, which is not unsurprising, but that is part of the thing we want to get at with the incubator is kind of diversifying, because 70% of the jobs here are in tourism, recreation, or hospitality, which is great because that is a very strong industry for you all, but there needs to be other more diverse industries here as well. There's also a very strong concentration in construction and manufacturing, which is smaller, but it is very concentrated in wood products, fabricated metals, and things like that. And then we'll get into, there are currently about 8,100 jobs in 2024 in Grand County. Like I said, 70% of them being service providing industries or sectors, 12% being good providing sectors. So there is a very, very heavy reliance on this. And so when we look at strengths and weaknesses, strengths obviously being construction, recreation related industries. But then as we look at the weaknesses, manufacturing has some really strong subclusters, like I mentioned, wood products and fabricated metal, but they are absent those sporting goods, outdoor equipment manufacturing. And we believe that is a missed opportunity for being such a beautiful and outdoor recreation based space for tourism. We want those products to be made here in Grand County. And then wage gaps, those sectors are not exactly supporting a wage that can really support a household or a family. So we're looking at about $24,000 per year in some of the arts and entertainment industries, accommodation being about $31,000 per year. And then seasonality of it. So people are leaving Grand County based on the seasons or coming in based on the tourism flows and ebbs that we see here, just based on tourism as well. And so these are the geographic clusters of Grand County. So the circles are where there are more employees. And the larger circle is above 250. And so we can see definitely a strong business cluster along the US 40, Winter Park, Fraser, Granby, not unsurprising. And then Kremling with that stronger Western hub. And then Fraser here, we have seen a specialized brewing distilling cluster, but very much so county-wide absent is a larger manufacturing cluster anywhere. So some of our peer comparisons we're looking at to compare would be Eagle and Summit County. They are very strong in healthcare and advancing manufacturing and professional services, which unfortunately Grand County is not. And that makes those seasonal downturns far more severe and are not seen as much in Eagle and Summit County.
Do you know what kind of manufacturing they have?
I don't offhand, but I can definitely get you that data. Excellent. And then so some of the lessons we've learned, outdoor focus, but still supporting very diverse. Telluride actually has a really good venture accelerator, which is certainly a model that we want to look at for this type of thing. But we want to keep Grand County. We don't want to make this Telluride. We don't want to make this Aspen. We want to keep it very identity specific to this county, and not kind of lose that identity as we bring in new businesses or help foster businesses currently existing in Grand County. I'm going to skip this one and then get to the site selection memo. So we are looking at how to best select sites objectively. And what are the evaluation criteria that we put forward? We know that it has to have broadband. It has to have probably most likely investment tax credits. Colorado does support some vacant building rehab credits as well. And then it has to be zoned properly and then accessible to highways, workforce, and services as well around it. And so these are some of the emerging themes that we've seen: community values, economic diversification, space strategy, site options, business services. All of these need to be in place in order to have a successful incubator. And then our next steps, data analysis, site work, engagement and outreach, deliverables and timelines, draft recommendations, late winter, early spring of 2025, final product, spring or summer of 2026. So I know that was very quick, a lot of information to get through, but I'm happy to take any questions or kind of brainstorm as we go. And thank you for your time again.
I have an awful well thought. That it might be, the baby step, first of all, this sounds very fun. Obviously, in things like trades, like electrical plumbing, needs to be severe. There is a severe shortage.
Yes.
And, it's probably an opportunity for a younger individual to get started. Let me know what y'all think about this. So a family purchased the old hot drilling facility Quality Guy, and they're going to use it for working space. Are you familiar?
Yeah, so that's the Dan
I know
Merchant
it's
site.
privately owned, but
It is, yes.
And I wonder if that might be a big step to get something happening. I'll just leave that.
Yeah, and I have some bad news there. We have approached the owner. His name is Dan Merchant.
Yeah.
We've had several conversations with him. He decided to go a different direction. Although that was the prime location we're looking at. That is perfect. No, yeah, no, but that kind of building is exactly what we're looking for. Because it is right on the highway. It is a great looking building. It has plenty of space, but you know, he has other tenants that he's looking at there.
Are you working with the schools as well? Is there going to be a tie-in? Because I know they've started to do some stuff, but I know that can always help grow too.
Yeah, I don't think this would be successful without the school districts being
Yeah.
involved, certainly. Just knowing that there are trade opportunities post your high school education, that you don't have to go to college, have a really successful career here in Grand County.
Mm.
We definitely want to start that and then work and then tie in those opportunities to get some of that educational curriculum built into the schools, especially 9th grade through 12th grade
Yeah.
for, you know, welding, HVAC, things like that.
Perfect. So you said that manufacturing of recreational products,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, sir.
What did you have in mind with that?
Yeah, so I would say any, you know, apparel that can be produced here at a decent cost, any of the things that the fiberglass, some of those base product materials that could be done inexpensively that isn't already outsourced or done overseas as well.
Okay, I know that we have Abby's pretty well versed in apparel. And some of the stuff that I was thinking of was there was a company that tried to start up here called 7 Mile Skis, turned to Crisp Skis, turned to Adamant Skis. They tried 3 separate times with over probably 300-400 grand in investments over the years, and they got kicked out of Winter Park pretty much because they wanted more money for space and they couldn't do it. And so it's really a high cost to produce things like skis, where it costs about $300 to produce a pair here in-house, and that's like taking a major pay cut. So then it needs to be sold for $750 to $900 per pair of skis. And I know that everybody here probably buys Atomic or Rossignol or whatever, and you can get those for $250 to $400. So I think there's been a lot of manufacturing tries here or trial runs, and they've all had to move to Denver. And I can think of 3 separate ones that have done that. besides that one ski company. But
Sure.
and then apparel, I know that Abby's super well versed in that, so she has her hand up.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that point, I'd love to hear more about those companies that unfortunately weren't able to stay here and use those as case studies as well.
Okay,
That'd be
yeah,
great.
I
Thank
could
you.
set you up with those people.
Perfect. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to, I mean, my take, well, I have a very personal story, which is, twofold. I'm very grateful with where I am, but I would definitely like to be involved in your case study. I think you could learn a lot with what I did witness. I think without the resources that I had going to Denver and being involved with Denver Startup Weeks, getting into the apparel industries there, like I think one of the biggest guys, Topo Designs, I was able to meet with him, kind of learn from what Colorado State was trying to do, like on a statewide level in terms of bringing industry to the state, all the way to the textile industry and the science of the U.S. trying to bring fabrications to stateside. So that I can get geeked out on, and really excited to hear about all of this. My biggest question would be, as a DDA member, what would be the assistance that you provide there in point with what Parks was saying, in terms of the holistic vision of that business. So that comes into legal assistance, accounting assistance, and those are two really big things. And then my question would be, no matter how much leadership is on the front end of a small business, there's a lot of like emotional struggle that comes with business management in a rural location.
Sure.
And it takes a lot of creative thinking and a lot of resources. And more frequently than what I have seen and witnessed firsthand, more frequently than just like the quarterly check-in. So even after those first 2 years, like what would be that mentorship? What would it look like? And typically mentorship is not always ideal when personalities don't match. And
Yeah.
so kind of going through a matching period too of, does this person see eye to eye with this creative person? Because like us creative people, we're kind of funny. And I feel like matching those personality types could be really beautiful. And then also, I really tried to push in and getting some financial legal assistance for small businesses, because that is something I witnessed firsthand that was really hard to get, even through the state. And so if GRIP could provide that legal guidance as well, and knowing that if something did happen with a tenant's commercial contract situation, that they could have some guidance there. And I think I had one more thing. Mike, you're in your data research, is our population something that could support and sustain some of these manufacturing models? Because when you do break down the dollars, you have to have an outreach, and whether you have, great algorithms on Instagram, or you have great, priced labor and materials, if you have that like cost of item to selling point, like perfect, great, you can probably sell it. But I mean, I've made apparel here. I still plan to do that. And the price of my item is pretty like, even San Utel with backpacks, like the price of his backpack is costly. So I just don't want anybody to do what I did, ever. And I'm really excited for what you're doing. So hopefully all that made sense.
It does, yeah. And please let me know if I forget to answer any of your questions. But we envision this more as kind of what I'm calling a Netflix model of membership, so that if you wanted to just buy in and get that assistance in legal spaces, accounting, startups, you could go and attend classes, enjoy networking events, things like that. And you wouldn't necessarily need to rent or lease space in some of these more industry specific sites that we're putting together. So there would be kind of two functions. You would have you would have access to the resources, let's say for welding. That is a very high startup cost, but it's something I know a lot of rural communities like yourselves need, and HVAC and others being the same. So, but let's say you don't need that and you just want to get access to those learning opportunities, that could certainly be done. And that might be the first thing that we implement is those learning opportunities before. And so we create that base of membership, and then they kind of tell us what we need to do and what industries we should start looking into. So we kind of build that trust with the communities before we come in and say, hey, we want you to spend all this money, lease this space, and we really don't have that trust and that proof of concept quite yet. So hopefully that answers your first question about those resource access. And then getting to could you repeat that last question? I apologize. I'm getting a little muddled in my
Just
head.
like mentorship pairing, because sometimes
Yes.
just you don't have that many people in that job that can provide that service, that there's, a matching.
Yes. At first there might not be a one-to-one match, and we might have to look outside of Grand County for that. But I do think we're hoping to kind of have people come out of the woodworks, and we're trying to overturn those rocks and find those hidden gems and those resources to start matching people, like you were saying, for that mentorship. And then back to your population feasibility, that's what we're getting into right now. And I think that's going to really lead us in the direction of what can this county population support right now? What is it most need right now? Before we start diving into, hey, outdoor recreation is great. We want to keep it here in Grand County, but if the population, or we have to assume population increases in order to support that, that's not something we want to prioritize and lead with right away.
And then I did have one more question. Is
Of
this
course.
you're looking at to accommodate the participants, or is it just your the GRIPS office or like flagship space? Is it
All of the above. Yeah. So there really wouldn't be, it would really be led by the county. So it wouldn't, it'd probably be an LLC or a standalone nonprofit that has a heavy tie-in with the county. If not kind of, being held by the county as their own asset and resource initially.
cool?
What do you think the startup cost is of a building like that and all of the machinery that you need and personnel to run it?
It would be quite a lot. We haven't gotten those projections quite yet on that. There would need to be capital investment from probably some Denver-based businesses that want to have an outpost out here, some capital investment from the state, or some tie-ins with community colleges that have a satellite campus or would consider having a satellite campus out here. So it wouldn't just be, on the members that want to populate this. There would have to be outside investment.
I know we're out of time, but one of the things you ought to ponder is food production and catering.
Mm.
I thought about that. If you go to almost any event of any size, like for a fundraiser, it's almost always catered by someone else.
Yeah.
So it's a huge opportunity. The school would have been ideal for that.
Yeah.
Competition. And we can talk about that another time.
And actually the Merchant Ranch site, his wife is actually doing a commercial kitchen in that site as well. She has a bakery in Granby, I think. And she's using some of that space for that exact purpose.
Yeah, she's actually opening her bakery here in
Okay,
Fraser.
excellent. Yeah, by the
Yeah.
Birdie Lounge, correct?
Yeah, kind of behind
Okay,
the
yeah.
Birdie Lounge.
perfect,
Yeah.
Okay.
Just as an example.
Yeah.
I have a wild guess of what that facility is gonna cost. It's an enormous amount of money.
Yeah.
So not many people can do that.
Sure.
So if there was something like what you're talking about, I've got incredible ideas about food production.
Perfect. Would love to hear him.
Brian, what's your email if we wanted to just reach out to provide any extra?
Yeah, so it is R Peterson, PETERSON at Antero, ANTERO group.com. And certainly Sarah will pass that along as well.
Yeah, I can send that to everybody. And
Yeah, I'm happy to have one-on-one conversations. If you think we're going down the wrong path, or you know something that would be really grateful for this conversation, we'd be happy to do that.
Perfect.
And it sounds like, Ryan, that you guys were kind of initially looking at one large space,
Yes.
but may also be open to multiple smaller spaces.
Yes.
So if folks do have ideas on properties or spaces they might want to look at, feel free to pass that along as well.
Yes. And so, yeah, we're doing a very objective, just like based on zoning, based on access to broadband highways, but obviously there will be some that kind of slip through the cracks or are able to be rezoned in order to facilitate this. Eventually we want to have a network of incubators and spaces to sell some of these products as well. So it might not be the place where the people are doing some of this production. It might be a space to sell them later on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. for your
Appreciate it.
time. Appreciate it.
you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Ryan.
So I think we're appointing some board members, correct?
Officers, yes.
Officers.
Yeah, let me go ahead and I will share my screen here real quick. So per our bylaws, we do have board officers appointed every 2 years of odd years in October. So again, based on when we started, this first round is a little bit different, but we do need a board chair, a vice chair, a treasurer, and a secretary. Currently, we have Parks Thompson serving as our board chair, Tiffany Gatesman serving as our vice chair, Nick Crabb as our treasurer, and Katie Souls as our secretary. So if anyone is interested in being considered for those positions, if people currently in those positions would like to continue in those positions, we can have that discussion and then go from there. I know Katie Souls couldn't be here today. She said she's happy to continue as secretary. She's also happy to step aside if somebody else would like to step into that role. As secretary, she is kind of responsible for the minutes and documentation and things like that. Currently, the way it's been working, which I think has worked pretty well, Antoinette puts together the minutes with a little AI help and then emails them to Katie and I, and we review them, suggest any edits, and then they're put in front of the board the next meeting to be approved. So again, she's happy to continue in that role. If somebody else wants to take over, she's happy to step aside.
As the three, two of the three of you have been in your role for a period of time, are you all up for and willing and it's continuing?
I'm fine with it. Doesn't.
Yeah, I'm
I'm good. Yeah.
Think it's
Sweet.
working, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what's
It
not
is working,
broken,
and that's why
Yeah.
I'm-
if it's not broken, don't fix it, right? That's,
Yeah, and I can't do anything more than I'm already doing. I've already dropped the ball in the marketing.
No, yeah, but
there's not
You
much. to
created a
market yet.
beautiful plan, Abby.
Yeah.
And I'm actually hoping in November we can revisit social media. We've got some ideas there for some help.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to put their cat in the ring? Yep.
Then Katie's willing to continue, he's on the board and in that position, I think it's helpful.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'd like to move that all current officers remain in places they are willing.
Second.
I can second that, being the other person that,
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
yeah.
Cool. That makes it easy.
my job's been very easy so far, so.
All right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll only get harder, but like honestly, that's totally fine. Yes,
Y'all are doing great.
think.
Yes, thank
Thank-
you all for your efforts.
Thank you, Sarah. I mean, I think you do a lot. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you really help us with our job. And I just want to recognize that it would be it'd be a whole lot harder if you weren't around.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So, if we could move on to the Fraser Comprehensive Plan, Downtown Vision and Economic Development Draft.
All right.
Right
So
here.
we've got Garrett with us here. Garrett Scott, our town planner. I can let him give you a little update on where the process is at and kind of next steps. What was included in the packet was the Word version of the downtown vision and the economic development sections. I was conflicted. I wanted to present an opportunity for you all to provide feedback. I didn't think we had time to go through the whole comprehensive plan, or that necessarily would be appropriate or make sense. But that said, there is a lot of overlap and intersections amongst the different sections. So I did send out a draft version of the whole plan. Just please note that staff is still reviewing and working with Cushing Terrell on revising and polishing that. So that is not yet a public document. Sections of it have been made publicly. But again, just wanted for those of you who really wanted to dive in to be able to see the overlaps and whatnot. Though we'll focus on downtown vision and economic development.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. So I have the draft, text and language that was provided in the packet. Really, the focus of what's in here is the downtown vision section, which I believe has been shared with you all on the DDA board previously, as well as scrolling down the economic development section of the comprehensive plan. And our downtown vision section is really quite robust. I would say it's, I think, our longest section in terms of our goals, strategies, and actions in the comprehensive plan. The economic development section is a little bit light, but to Sarah's point, there's a lot of items that kind of cross-reference or, really could live in multiple different sections. So, you know, I think the intention of this was not to go through this line by line. If you all had an opportunity to review this and have any further thoughts or suggestions or edits or additions to this, staff is certainly open to hearing them. The intent behind this is just to get an additional set of eyes on this document, these strategies and actions before this is made available for public comment here soon by the end of the month. So with that, I'll just open it up for any thoughts or feedback or suggestions.
Garrett, can you comment real quick
Mm.
on, in terms of it going to like the planning commission and the public and the board, the kind of dates outlined for that?
Yeah, so we're targeting bringing this plan forward to our planning commission in November. I think that date is November 12th. Yes, the second Wednesday, for their review and their recommendation of approval, and then it will advance to the board in December for final approval and adoption. And those, that timeline can be pushed back, stretched out for additional public comment, public feedback, and things like that. But we're targeting to try to get this plan adopted before the end of the year. So that's the schedule we're tracking.
Not a little bit, I read the whole thing, it's, borderline overwhelming.
Sure.
Yes.
So what I try to do is focus on the things that I think this group should be focused on, or putting my old EDAC thought process on.
Right.
It all just sounds great. And challenging people. So maybe it would be interesting to see what your group's thought is. What kind of input you need for each part of it, and therefore our part. And with EDAC not being around, maybe we have become the voice of what that would have been, even though that's not our central role. I think I'll let them be the office of the group. I'm going to be the official group warrior. I remember in an early EDAC meeting, 7, 8 years whatever, I made a comment that I'm a perennial warrior, and the town manager says, "You're a warrior?" That's the last thing. I am a warrior. We don't even get it. But as I read through the economic parts of it, which are very well laid out, the implementation of that is going to be rather challenging. And my warrior mentality is we're phasing into a period of economic slowdown. Anecdotally, I did read a couple weeks ago that so you got Altera and Vail. Vail is like not just Vail, but Vail has to release numbers because we're publicly traded, although it's not. But Vail indicated that their pre-sales are way again. The Epic that's the seller. And I've heard anecdotally pre-rentals are down a bit. So the implementation of some of the ideas in there was a very business perspective. I think will be very important. So just interested in, for that part of it, because it's where I think we done the most input. You know, there's one board member that has a local business. Katie Fisher, I don't know if there's anybody else. I think getting input from the community as to what we're seeing and what we think would be what we'd like to see out of that part of it. You know.
So I was looking at this and it says enhance the physical environment of downtown through targeted improvements to streets, sidewalks, facades, and public spaces. I think that that's pretty DDA oriented, right?
Yeah, I would say that line is pretty consistent with our current business enhancement grant program.
Uh-huh.
But yes, I know there's been discussions about should that be part of the DDA's focus. It's economic development 1.1 if you want to scroll down. So,
On the creating a downtown marketing and branding strategy, that's probably under Sarah Wyke, right?
Wick,
Wick.
sorry, you're on ED, which one?
ED
1.3
3,
and then
1.3.
1.3.
Okay.
Then ED 2.3, consider dedicated incentives for business that contribute to year-round activity, employment, and revenue generation. That might be something the DDA could look into, right?
Yeah, I mean, that one specifically, and just to clarify real quick, you guys were sent the Word version and there is an accompanying matrix, and this does actually have priority numbers and partners and
Okay.
other things that I left off. So that is what is printed in front of you and
Yeah.
up on the screen. So I just wanted to clarify if you're looking at what was in the packet,
Yeah.
these items match that. But
So
back to your question though.
1.3 and 2.3, I feel like are pretty close to the same. Like they're almost, that falls under 1.3. Just might be something to consider because it's marketing based.
So marketing and branding, I think, is a little bit different than dedicated incentives for businesses. Those are the two that you're putting together.
Yeah,
Because I think the idea with,
but it's contributing to year-round activity.
Mhm.
And I think that's where it falls underneath, right? Because that's incentives for, that's marketing for year-round activity, correct?
Yeah, so there's definitely overlap in
And
multiple
revenue
areas.
generation also falls under that.
Which one? Sorry.
Revenue generation and incentives for the business to create year-round activity. So
Yes.
I kind of felt like those two would be hand in hand, but I guess they could be separate. And then your development, just moving on. These are just ideas I had. It doesn't mean we have to answer them or anything. It's just things I'm thinking about.
Okay.
Develop and promote signature off-season events that draw visitors and support local business. So off-season is what you were just talking about, that we're going into somewhat of an economic fall, and really the problem, but it's going to make the next few weeks, annually the worst.
Yeah.
Okay. Events like Winter Park Film Festival are filling gaps like that. Events, so we need more events that are being spaced into the off seasons, correct?
Correct.
And so maybe the DDA can help focus on some of that because there's not a lot of activity in town during those times, and we have more time as the DDA that way. If we have more time, then we can push as a board harder, because I know that because we are business owners in the busy season, it's really difficult for people like Nick and Barry and myself to everybody here to do anything, so it becomes hard. So maybe 2.4 is really good for us to be involved in just as business owners. It's just my input on this front page here.
Yeah, piggybacking off you two, I think it's definitely I'm thinking about sitting in on the meeting the last town meeting, right, with economic development when Greg and I were here. I think anything that would help, right, the town that we could do more of, right? It might be easier to get some more direction this way versus trying to take things. That sounds a little harsh, but anything that I think we could help with, right?
Yep.
Would be good guidance for us.
And I think it could be a worthwhile activity. We've been kind of, I mean, the DDA has contributed thoughts around the kind of the downtown vision for this plan. Obviously, we have the DDA plan of development, but once this plan is kind of finalized, polished, published, to sit down and look at it in comparison to our plan of development and our DDA work plan and kind of not merge them, but see where it makes the most sense for the DDA to focus their energy if the DDA feels that it's appropriate and makes sense to really kind of complement what's in the comprehensive plan where there's overlap with the DDA plan of development.
Right.
100% agree.
And what I think I would also, sorry to cut you off. What I'm saying is that for 2.4 during this time of year, we could be more active with meetings. So instead of once every month, maybe we meet twice a month in the off season to really get some flow and some movement for this specific subject here.
Yeah, I think we're all fine providing our thoughts or gathering information from the community and helping whoever is in charge specifically of these things. I think, like I said, just some more direction of where we could help and focus our energy, and it could be things like, hey, this is a great idea and everyone agrees to it, but there's no one that can head it up. Okay, great. That would be something that we could take on. Versus, comparing it to the economic development, it seemed like the town board was interested in keeping that in-house, for lack of a better term, right?
My take is the board, if the DDA has money to fund it, they would be happy to hand it over to the DDA. But if it is town funds that are funding it, they want to have a say in how.
Which totally makes sense. Don't disagree with it. But it's also like, yeah, okay, great. How can we help support, versus if there's other things that we can take, more on ourselves.
Yep.
Having some of that direction would be helpful.
Yep.
I feel like I have a lot to say, but I don't know like what line item it is. You know what I mean? I think you answered my question, Sarah, where you said where everything is crossing over. I just wonder, how if we're responsible for creating a cohesive feel with our money, but at the same time, would it be like a 50-50 where like the town has a say and so they put in money and then we put in money versus us just fronting a full concept? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it could be. Are you speaking about the business enhancement grants or just generally?
Just generally. I think there was a line item if Greg was able to scroll up, I think it was 2.1. Develop, coordinate calendar downtown. Nope. Develop signature. Nope. The 1.3 marketing and branding strategy. I feel like that's something you just said that like you guys are already doing that in a sense.
Yeah, and I would actually recommend we reword that because I think Sarah Wick has done a really nice job with this and working with Slate Communications. And so I think there's always room for enhancements and, things to tailor, but
continuing.
Yeah.
I think it would be confusing if we put our 2 cents in. I think us just supporting your already developed concept for the Fraser website and then the Explore Fraser website. We just want to support that.
Yeah, and just to clarify again, this is the town's comprehensive plan, right? That the DDA is being asked to wade in on. This is not being handed to the DDA to implement this. But I think it does make sense to look at that DDA plan of development and where is there overlap, and that it would be appropriate to say, okay, we want to work hand in hand with the town there is a lot of overlap here. So this is where we're going to kind of prioritize based on those intersections between the DDA plan of development and the town's comprehensive plan. So depending on what it is, Abby, to go back to your question, something like wayfinding, you know, I know the town is looking to put a certain amount of money in their budget for wayfinding as the result of that wayfinding study that was done between Winter Park Resort and Fraser. But it could be appropriate for the DDA to say, okay, the town's funding this. We think this is important. It's also in the plan. So we'll fund this piece, right? Or we'll chip in 50% or whatever it may be. So, but just want to make sure that this isn't being muddled in terms of the purpose of this document and the DDA's involvement, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think it's also, we've talked about, it's going to be a couple years of just supporting wherever we can, even if it's just with some legwork, right? And time for us until there is, some substantial budget to offer things financially.
Yeah, and I do think the Fraser DDA is unique in some ways in the DDA world in that Fraser's small, right? And it's pretty much almost our whole town with a couple little things cut out for better or for worse that are encompassed by the DDA. So there is a lot of overlap. I was just down in Denver, you know, and they just redid the 16th Street Mall pedestrian walk. And there was a lot of cool kind of interactive art features and music features, and they had a little plaques that I assume they were funded by that downtown business improvement district, right? That is this portion of Denver, right? And so there's overlap with their Denver Business Improvement District in this downtown area with the larger city of Denver. And they have little business improvement districts all over the place. Their downtown development authority was Union Station, right? So it was this small piece. Whereas in Fraser, there's a whole lot of overlap. So it makes sense that there be synergy and integration and, you know.
So one of my questions, I guess, is this aiming at like more of weekend traffic, or is this aiming at like making people more likely to be full-time residents here? Or because this is like, we just had a whole presentation on 70% of our economic, you know, our wealth comes from tourism. And so with that being said, there's things in here saying that businesses should collaborate. And so like, are we trying to get our own residents to spend more money with each other? Or are we trying to get more people to come live here full time and want to be here, want to live here, right? Like Grand Park has a lot of second homes, Rendezvous has second homes, whatever. Are we trying to attract these people to want to live here full time? Because I would see that that's how you gain more wealth year round, right?
And I think it's both. And again, recognizing that this is an economic development section of a larger plan that talks about things like housing and childcare and
Sure.
quality of life for residents. So recognizing that tourism is front and center, the economic driver here, right? How do we build that? How do we fill in the shoulder seasons? But then this last economic development area for Make Fraser a place where people can both live and work affordably talks more about regional economic development, supporting creation of year-round higher wage jobs, creating things like co-spaces, business incubators. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I would, to add on that, I think the way this economic development section is currently written, it identifies goals that are, trying to tackle that on all fronts, both enhance and expand the tourism and recreation economy, but also expand and diversify in other areas where it's lacking. Kind of the gentleman before was speaking to, right, with the business incubator program. So I think it's trying to speak to both of those elements of economic development.
If you guys are good with it, for the sake of time, why don't we look at downtown vision? And I'll just say you guys can continue if you want to take more time with this after this discussion. Like, feel free to email me your comments, or like I said, once it's polished, it'll be made public and open for public feedback. But so don't feel like you have to, like, I know it's a lot. If ideas come to you later, you can still send them on to us. But
I would encourage that you also look at towns like Breckenridge, Telluride, Silverthorne, things like that. And you probably have, but adding their economic growth and their from a 10-year span or a 20-year span might be something to look at and how they've kind of got to where they're at, because that's kind of where we're headed.
Yeah. So in terms of downtown, oh, go ahead.
I just had one question. Is the housing needs assessment from, I think it was 2021, what's being relied on for the kind of housing goals, Garrett? Or is there a new housing needs assessment being conducted?
So Greg, real quick, and then I can let Garrett speak more to this specific plan. But the housing needs assessment that was done with the Fraser Housing Partnership has been updated since 2021, but they are looking at a more full comprehensive update. I believe the goal is to have that done in 2026. They've
Okay.
been searching for figuring out the executive director role. So I don't know if that's been delayed, but that
Yeah.
is planned to be update. There was like a mini update that was done last year, the year before.
Yeah, June of last year.
Yeah.
So yes, we are using that housing needs assessment that was finalized 2022 and then updated 2024, as well as other data sources, census, et cetera, in the comprehensive plan, just broadly speaking. But yes, to Sarah's point, the housing partnership will be completing a updated housing needs assessment in the near future.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because there's a lot of new deliveries coming on with the resort and Noosh and St. Louis Landing that
Yep.
for Fraser specifically, I don't know, for Fraser, how many more affordable units or are truly needed for Fraser. So I think that's important to get that update and at least make the policy malleable enough to kind of account for what changes once they do that reanalysis.
For sure. And the housing recommendations in this plan, I will say, are much more general than what you find in like the needs assessments kind of recommendations. So looking at downtown vision, I'll go through this quickly of just kind of the overarching visions, goals, and then we can come back to anything that people would like to discuss. Create an environment where walking, biking, and rolling feels fun, easy, and accessible. Within that is improving signage and wayfinding, improving pedestrian and vehicular safety, expanding and improving mobility options, allocating and designing space that is friendly to walk, bike, and roll. Next, the Vision 2, build a lively and sustainable business environment that supports small local shops and businesses, reflecting the town's unique and fun spirit. So promoting business diversity amongst local businesses and entrepreneurs, increasing foot traffic and visitation, providing inclusive housing that prioritizes the workforce, creating a full day Fraser visitor experience. So giving people kind of a reason to come and actually spend their time in Fraser versus just pass through. Make the Fraser River and Fraser River Trail the heart of downtown, shaping the area's identity and offering a vibrant scenic space for residents and visitors to enjoy. That includes enhancing the Fraser River Trail amenities and gathering spaces near downtown, encouraging active uses and programming along the Fraser River while respecting ecologically sensitive areas, improving non-motorized access and visibility from Highway 40 and Clayton Court to the river. Vision 4, enhance downtown to be the go-to destination, buzzing with excitement and events every month of the year where there's always something fun for everyone. Enhance event and programming efforts, ensure high-quality architectural and public realm design that is memorable and unique. And so, yeah, that is a lot. And then with kind of some goals under each of those. So if there's anything you think is missing or anything you want to address or comment on. And again, there's a community section. It does actually call out the DDA helping to support the arts in that section. That kind of gets more to that quality of life for residents. There's an infrastructure section that kind of talks more about things like sidewalks and roads. And then there's a natural resources and sustainability section that does talk more about like the Fraser River and kind of making sure we're being good environmental stewards alongside the economic development, and just development piece. And they did have access to the DDA plan of development, so I think there are definitely some overlaps here. All right, well, if there's no other thoughts now, like I said, feel free if you want to go back and look at this. If you have any other thoughts, you can send them to Garrett or I. Can make sure you have Garrett's contact information as well. Otherwise, this will be cleaned up hopefully in time for the Planning Commission next month. And then it goes to the public before or after the Planning Commission.
Before the planning
Before,
commission.
okay.
So yeah, we are racing towards that. I really appreciate the feedback and discussion. I got some good notes here. So yeah, thank you all for your time.
Thanks,
And once
Garrett.
it
Thank you.
is open to the public, I would encourage you to encourage the public to look at it and provide feedback and being engaged in that process.
Okay, so moving on to the DDA budget revision.
Thanks, Garrett. All right, so this is a small revision. Share my screen here, and this is included in the packet as well. I'm not locating the yeah, would you? That might have been a little-
So much like last year, it's about $1,400 less than what we had been prognosticating because of a tax discrepancy. I don't know the specific, but I do know that's exactly what we're looking at again, but it's only like 1386 or something like that, 1396. So it's not a huge difference, but it is mostly impacting our revenues over expenditures, which isn't really affecting much at all. So hopefully you can speak to more specifics on how that happened, but
Yeah,
looking that over earlier, and I don't know exactly which parcel it was, but
yeah, so there was some wonky stuff that went on with the way the town had divided up joint parcels around by where the art center is and the Strom townhomes. So they've said this is a one-time occurrence, but basically we had some land that went from tax exempt to non-exempt. So we lose that money. Once it's non-exempt, it goes against our increment because it's a negative in taxes compared to what it used to be. But she had calculated it wrong. And in looking at this with Troy and Nick, Troy had actually identified that, and it was an issue just with her calculation spreadsheet. So she circled back, she being the county assessor that works with us or works for the county to do the tax increment. So she went back and redid the calculation, changed the formula to make it a negative versus a positive number. Like we were getting extra increment when it should have been a negative increment. So it shows the previous tier. We're getting 43,731. And again, this estimate could still change before the end of the year. But that's down to $42,336. So about $1,400, give or take. It didn't make any other changes to the budget at this point, other than just reducing those revenues over expenditures like Nick was talking about. So I'm sure that is clear as mud, but our previous revenues over expenditures were 10,174. If we don't change anything in the budget, that would be 8,779 now.
I don't think we need to really make any changes at all because it doesn't really affect anything like specifically. But it just gives us a little bit less flexibility for if we want to spend anything like over the budget. But we already have a pretty good amount of money for like district enhancements and all that stuff that we really didn't spend at all this year because we didn't really have much. But hopefully next year, if we have a project that we actually want to spend it on, we have enough money to kind of act on it. So
Agreed.
And again, this budget is wrapped into the town budget that the Board of Trustees will be approving. I mean, they will likely make some modifications, but then will ultimately be approving probably their first board meeting in December. So at that point, the DDA budget becomes kind of finalized.
Cool.
So if everybody is okay with just making that change in the revenues over expenditures, and as you may recall, we talked about kind of setting aside a larger amount to kind of grow a pot of money for larger projects. Our next item does have to do with the Fraser Railroad Station signage and whether or not the DDA would like to sponsor those. So we'll talk about that in a second, but I just wanted to point out while we're looking at this, that right now this budget has the district enhancement amount from this year of 20,000 kind of rolling over to next year. So 20,000 new plus 20,000 from last year. If we did decide to do the signage, that number would go down significantly because then we'd actually be spending that district enhancement money or some of it this year. So we'll talk about that in a second, but just wanted to point that out while we have this up. But if everybody is good with how this stands, then maybe we can just do a motion to approve the revised budget. It reflects the slightly less revenues coming in.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Greg's on record.
All right.
So Fraser Railroad Station signage, possible DDA sponsorship.
Yeah, so let me,
I heard there was kind of some exciting stuff about being able where to put it.
yeah, so Antoinette, would you mind pulling this up from the agenda? For some reason, mine has gone blank. So it's the Town of Fraser Depot sign. So we have, we looked at these signs, I think a couple months back. I don't remember if it was the last DDA board meeting or the meeting before that. Sarah continued to work with, I believe, Slate on them. And we have gotten permission from Amtrak as well as Union Pacific Railroad to hang the signs on the Amtrak platform. And the idea is that there would be one on either side of it. So one, if the train is coming in going north, you'd see it on the southern end. And then if you're coming in the other way, you'd see it on that side as well. So they have been approved. I do the sign first. Thank you.
So this be two of them or just this one on one side?
So there would be two. There would be one on the north side, one on the south side. So you see it from either direction the train was going. This is what the sign looks like. So it's got some different icons there, kind of representing some of the different things to do in Fraser with the Fraser logo in the middle there. And then the other document that was in the packet does provide different price points depending on the materials. So the question is if this is something that the DDA would like to sponsor. It is not currently in the town budget to do the signs. I know we've been talking about an enhancement, something kind of welcoming youth of Fraser down around the station, and some of the different ideas have either been put on hold or fallen through for different reasons in terms of like the kinetic sculpture or doing a mural. So I wanted to see if the DDA did want to take this on. If you want to share the other screen. So there's three different price points. The flat aluminum composite is supposed to have an 8 to 12-year life depending on UV exposure. Here I would expect that UV exposure to be high, so would expect that it be on the lower end. But that for the two signs, it's a little over 4,000 for each sign, so it'd be $8,286 for the two signs. The next option is supposed to have a 25+ year life. These signs would be constructed from thick solid aluminum plate. The graphics will have a painted finish in acrylic, polyurethane with an automotive clear coat for maximum durability. So that brings it up to about 7,000 per sign for a total of 14,376. Or if you want to go fully three-dimensional carved wood, that is also meant to have a 25+ year life. But for two signs, that would be 18,734. And these do include materials, labor, and installation. They're
That'll-
also meant to be designed such that, because Amtrak is doing, they're redoing that platform, that these are something that we would be able to take down and then hang back up.
Just my 2 cents, if we could scroll to the top of that, is that the top there? Oh yeah, 8,000. Um, that all seems pretty high for that type of signage. Just because I've bought a lot of signs and used to actually make signs myself. So this seems pretty like taxed to me. Um, especially for what you're getting. I think if you're gonna get flat aluminum composite signs like that, it makes more sense because you could replace those twice and you would have, almost 30 years for 25 years of life for 20 grand. But that's just my opinion on that. Also, I'd say that you should probably shop that out to Mountain Signs as well, or the Mountain Sign Corp. I can put you in touch with them. They sponsored the film festival for like a number of years and like for free.
Lunsford.
They're not, they're a great company. It's just extremely taxed for what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that if the DDA is going to sponsor that and spend that type of money, I would much rather give some incentive or some sort of trade um to the guys I know up there at the ski resort, and they would probably do it for half of that price. So
Okay.
would be my guess. I don't want to speak for them, but I do know I've dealt with them for a lot of stuff, and they are extremely community based, and anything that is community, they do a lot of donating. They donated like $20,000 worth of signs to the Winter Park Film Festival and helped us every year.
Okay.
So I think if we're going to give money to somebody, we should ask them, just because I think 8,000 is a lot, and 14 and 18,000 is a ton of money for a sign that's only so big and sits
Yeah.
on just the train station. If that's on the highway, maybe where there's way more traffic and where people are stopping in town, this is like we're trying to pull some people off the train. So I don't think, $20,000 is worth spending for what you're going to get off of the train. Like Nick's business and your business isn't going to see 20 grand from the train in the next 4 years, just from my opinion. Tell me
I
if I'm
agree.
wrong.
No. It is pricey. When I first looked at this and I thought this was like a total, like you had to like add all these up, and I was just like, no way. But like even that top price point for an aluminum sign with no lights or anything at all, like I he does amazing work. He did my sign, I believe he did your sign as well. He did the icebox 1, 2. He does great work, but for what we're looking for, probably not needed to go with him. And then we can possibly use more of that money towards like lighting, to kind of light that up when that train comes in the winter. You can't see that if it's not lit up. So, because at 4 o'clock it's night.
That's a
So
good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ditto
Point.
that. Same thing.
Yeah, I also think keeping the cheaper, right? With I know there's a lot of discussion of what's going to happen with that and that whole
Yeah,
area, right? I don't know if we could look out past 8 years,
yeah,
right? So I think,
right.
hey, if it's something a digitally printed, right, aluminum backed sign that looks good,
Yeah,
right, and then see how things go, I would vote towards
yeah.
getting something quicker and cheaper now
Yeah.
that still looks good, and then know that it will have to be replaced or change as that area grows.
Yep.
then using potentially your company that you mentioned or McConnell Printing could also quote us as well because they do the
Mc-
aluminum printing as well. So
Yeah, McConnell's gonna outsource that, I think,
probably.
but so they're pretty hefty too. I work with them a lot.
Oh, really? Okay.
It would be worth looking into, but chances are they're gonna go ask the guys that I'm talking
Oh,
about.
really?
Yeah. So, and they're great. They really
Okay.
do donate a lot to the community, and if you tell them it's this and
Yep.
for this and it's for the community, they probably are gonna give you an insanely good deal. Like both sides might even be 2,500 in total.
Okay.
So
Yeah, no, we
they're
can definitely
awesome.
get other
Like,
prices. Is this something that the DDA would like to pursue then if we can get the right
yeah.
price point?
Only,
Absolutely.
only I could raise a peripheral issue. I just wonder if it would be best to wait to understand how the wayfinding signage is going to evolve. And so this isn't really much wayfinding.
No, and so the wayfinding study was completed and they presented. I don't know if you were at that
Yeah,
meeting,
sure.
Barry. Yeah.
Wait and see what the town of Winter Fraser decides to do as a result of the wayfinding study. And that might lead us to have a signage that's for wayfinding or directing people and just saying, here we are. It's a thought for y'all to comment on.
I think that that's a valid point, but I think that this is more so just adding some beauty up there and saying that you're here and it's like a welcoming thing versus like, because even if they got, let's say that those signs weren't there and then the wayfinding was already up. That's down closer to the road, pointing down the road. You know, we saw some of that. This is more so just let's make it a little prettier when they show up and say, hey, I'm in Fraser. People are taking pictures in front of it.
If that's the consensus of the group, then I would strongly second trying to find something that's more cost effective.
Yeah, I mean,
Because I think once we have a full understanding of how the wayfinding signage will evolve, we might find gaps in that we think we would want to fill, that would direct people from the train to the downtown corridor, et cetera.
We could always add more to the bottom
Sure.
that is more wayfinding-esque, or even on those posts
yeah,
that basically is more eye level. As long as this design is not considerably opposing graphically to that wayfinding graphic, that or the visuals that we're going to be
Right.
using. I think this is separate but related, and we can always add more to it to basically make it more of a wayfinding thing. But yeah.
Actually,
Oh,
it-
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
does that Amtrak sign block the vision of that sign? In the image you have on
I think the
Zoom right now? It says Winter
Yeah, that's a good question, Abby. I don't
On the bus.
believe so, but I can go put eyes on it. And I don't know with the work they're going to be doing if that sign's location will change at all.
I feel like it's not something that needs to be pushed right now for some reason. With all the changes that they're going to do with the structure, if they could send in what they're going to do, and then we could make a decision, or the town can make a decision based on that. Don't you think? To
We
have, like,
do have
holistic.
those plans and we can look at those. We could bring those to the next meeting along with if we get quotes from other folks. My understanding is the platform renovations are going to be done over a series of years.
Oh,
When I
wow.
asked how long I was expecting, stupidly, weeks, maybe months, and in part because they have to keep the platform open while they're doing the work. So
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with Abby because the aesthetics could completely change once it's done.
Right.
And like Parks was saying, you know, we could get a cheaper sign that only lasts 8 years, so that might be okay, but I don't know if it would be worth it for us to spend all that money on something that is not gonna be aesthetically pleasing on the new building and last.
Yeah.
But I really like the idea of having this sign with the uniqueness, and I do, from what I vaguely remember from the wayfinding, I feel like it does match kind of the aesthetics of the wayfinding, but it also adds the little quirkiness and the recreation of Fraser. So I really do like it. I do like the idea. I'm just concerned with the construction
So
as well and the cost.
what if we could get, so maybe if the costs come down to like 4 or 5 grand total, maybe then it's worth it for that amount of years. So then if it's gone, it's like we didn't, we spent $500 per year to have it, or a couple
Yeah.
$100 a year versus like 10 grand. You know,
yeah,
And
and
it could be recycled.
my understanding is that structure piece kind of above the platform will stay quite similar. And
Yeah.
again, the sign is designed such that it could be moved to the new structure. Trying to see if I have the plans handy.
If it is more temporary, we could always auction it off for a charity donation later on too, after we get a new one.
Oh,
Like-
totally.
like,
make some money back on
yeah,
it.
well, hopefully for charity, but
Yeah.
like EDA could be a charity, I guess.
Well, but
Yeah, I have very engineering documents. Let me see. Well, why don't we work on getting some other quotes, or at least one other quote, and then I do have a meeting with Amtrak later this week to talk about a real estate agreement, so I can get more details and confirm what it would look like in terms of the renovations they're doing to the platform, and we can bring it back to our November meeting if that makes sense.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm filling up all might it make sense if they would let us at the platform or someplace nearby to have one of those scan codes, what do you call those?
QR code.
QR code.
Yeah.
During my age, that would bring up half of downtown Fraser with all the places to go. When someone gets off the train, they can just scan it and go, oh, I can go grab a beer, it's only a 1 minute walk.
Right. I believe we talked about that before, but it would be cool to have like a little like table, like almost with a QR code, like
Yeah.
maybe a little map, like all the businesses around town and like distances and all that too.
See, it'll give be walking around and achieve all of our, many of our.
Mhm. Then if it's covered, like UV is not an issue, and that can also be moved once the new station comes in and put on that new station as well.
I think it's. this is
So-
almost like a sign is.
Yeah.
If they would love.
Yeah, and that was part of the discussion with the kinetic sculpture versus kiosk and what that looked like, that we decided to hold off on for now. Sarah Wick last year had a big tall, it's actually in our office now, kind of, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a cloth sign that had a QR code that you could scan for information. It took you to explore Fraser. And she got a bunch of scans like when she first put it up there, but then there wasn't that much traffic on the platform. That said, I think it makes sense as part of wayfinding in terms of giving people information kind of once they are stepping down into Fraser.
What happened with
So-
the big map
He said that
thing
he
that
could
she was working on? Was that like too expensive?
Yeah, I think she ultimately decided
Okay.
like I wasn't being super responsive and that it was just a lot of money for a
Okay,
map.
that's what I thought.
I want to, don't quote me on this. I want to say it was like 30,000 or something like
I thought
that.
it was a lot.
Yeah.
So he said that they don't have the CNC router, but my buddy Chris does for Adamant Skis.
Okay.
And he's saying that if we got it cut, that it wouldn't be more than like 500 to 1,000 a side.
Okay.
And that's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
That's like
I'm down to do that.
a lot. See, because, well, and that's what I'm saying. I think that, being taxed that heavily is just not worth it. But if it's 1,000 a side or 1,500 a side, then we're really not blowing much money at all. And if it does get taken down, if it does get beat up in the wind or something crazy happens, then it's like, whatever. We got some years out of it.
And that would be for the aluminum.
So there's aluminum composite material
Uh-huh.
that they use up at the resort, and that's what that would be. But they
Okay.
would have to have it cut and then they would print it.
Okay.
But Chris has a CNC and I could get him to do that. We would just have to give him a couple hundred or something. It'd be cheap to do it that way.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, Parks, why don't you and I talk offline and we'll
Yeah.
figure that out and then we can bring it back to the next.
I just
meeting.
wanted to make sure it was possible. I'm not speaking for him, but they said that's possible. So,
Okay, cool. Great.
okay.
Sounds good.
I had a random question about that. Have you seen the Colfax digital signs? Like it looks like an iPhone, but it shows you stuff. You can update it. I think it's on Colfax. Yeah, it was on the walkthrough thing I went to for the DDA.
Okay. Are these
Anyways,
newer or ones that have been on Colfax for a while?
I don't know. Maybe it was the first time I've seen them,
Yep.
but they look expensive, and I doubt our weather would allow that. But is the building that is owned by Rob Anderson, are we looking at having like an Amtrak station that you can walk into during the elements? Is there any expanded thought there? Sorry to go down that.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So currently the Amtrak station is in Ron Anderson's building. There have been issues. Amtrak has, in addition to the platform modifications that they're looking to do basically their ADA upgrades, they have wanted to do ADA upgrades to Ron Anderson's building. My understanding is Mr. Anderson is happy to have them do the interior improvements, which they'd basically be completely redoing the bathrooms. And I think would be enhancing the waiting areas as well. But they also need to do ADA improvements to enter the building, and he doesn't want them to do those improvements because it messes with his current snow removal system. So he has posed that they can just make modifications to what they want to do. They have said, no, this is what they want to do. They need to do, or they're mandated to do. So they're kind of in a standoff there. That said, different options are being explored for a more comprehensive transit station.
So he's like, sweet, model on my building and make it worth more money for me, but you can't touch the outside.
I think he's basically kind of said, don't do the ramp or don't do the rail or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this is required to be in compliance with
my
ADA, and it hasn't progressed past that. So
Okay.
it's been going on for a while. They're moving forward with the platform modifications, but
Yeah.
not the building modifications.
Last stand.
The town and some others in conjunction with Amtrak have been looking at a couple different possibilities for a station that would be nicer than the current station because it's in pretty
It's yeah,
bad shape at the moment.
like modular status right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that would be my thought of where that digital experience could be and be of value, because people would be forced into there for warmth, and then they would look at those maps and it could be edited and changed. And
Right.
Should-
And that's part of the reason I think we ended up holding off on doing something, was waiting for the wayfinding to be completed, seeing
Right.
what was going to be prioritized, and then also just knowing that station status and some of the properties right there may be some modifications in the near future happening.
So as much as I love it, I think we do need to move on. We have like 30 minutes left and a number of items. Is there anything else that has to be said about this subject now?
Nope.
No? Okay, awesome. Fraser Business Enhancement Grant updates?
Yeah, all right. Let me try again to share. There we go. Okay, so I just wanted to provide you all an update, and thank you to Bill and Greg for attending the workshop that was done with the board on the Fraser Business Enhancement Grants. At the following meeting after the workshop, they did adopt some updates to the grant program. So just wanted to make sure you were all aware of those. The goals of the program, just super quick, are to provide support to local businesses or just businesses. Generally, they tend to be local. To incentivize improvements to commercial buildings, provide enhanced curb appeal and beautification of downtown, attract more visitors and enhance their experience, in turn increasing sales and commercial tax revenues. Also just providing community and quality of life benefits by enhancing the downtown space and really kind of creating this center to the community. And then trying to encourage kind of strategic alignment and partnerships between the town and businesses for the town's kind of long-term vision for downtown. And again, not just focusing on new development, but focusing on how we can improve and enhance developments that are already there and some of our current businesses, particularly with some older buildings there. So the proposed updates included a budget of 125,000. So this actually was in line with what we had this past year. A maximum award of 25,000. It was clarified per business space. So if you do have a building that has, or a shopping center that has multiple businesses in it, technically you could get up to $25,000 per each of those business units or spaces. It's not to say the board would necessarily give them $200,000, or 125, but that would be possible. The board did want to move up that priority consideration to February 1st. This past year, it was March 1st. We were trying to balance giving people enough time for summer construction with having kind of your ducks in a row and a busy time of the year after the holiday season. But February 1st, because I think in part we had a number of projects that didn't get done this past summer, trying to push that up a bit and give people more time, recognizing the difficulty in lining up contractors and everything else up here. We will continue to accept applications for priority consideration if funding remains after that priority consideration deadline. This past year, we did continue to accept applications. We really didn't run out of funding. We pretty much used it all, or it was all awarded if not utilized. But we didn't actually have to turn anybody away because the funding had run out. And then the board wanted to see that if there was funds left over, so say we budgeted 125,000, we get to August and we've used up 85,000 of that those remaining funds would be rolled into our donor advised funds, which are managed through the Grand Foundation. And that's the avenue by which generally nonprofits and different entities offering social services, arts and cultures, there's a number of categories that they can apply for. In the past 2 years, I think it's been 75,000 that's been budgeted for that. And it is quite competitive. We get a number of applications. They tend to be awarded smaller amounts than what we've awarded through the business enhancement grant. So the board thought that was an appropriate use of those funds.
Agreed.
Yeah, so makes a little bit larger of a pool. So what we really focused in on and what I think the board really wanted some clarity around that kind of came up as they were reviewing applications this past year. Previously, it was a business enhancement grant. We focused on what sort of projects were eligible, but wanting more definition around who was eligible to apply. And so that's what a lot of the discussion focused on. What was determined, you must own or lease commercial property that is slated for improvements. properties must be within the Fraser Riverwalk or business districts or in another commercial mixed use kind of planned development space. So this really was the piece that was new, was just kind of focusing the ideas that this is on enhancing our commercial district. Home occupations and standalone residents are not eligible. Applicant must be in good standing with the town. So like if they're required to have a business license, they need to have a current business license. Tenants, if they don't own the property, must have written consent from the property owners.
Oh, no.
And a single application may be submitted for multiple spaces or properties for a particular scope of work. So for example, if Camber and the winery wanted to improve the sidewalks, they could submit that application together kind of thing. And technically would be eligible for up to 50,000 based on it being two businesses.
Okay.
I would like to.
So this is just the town of Fraser zoning map. So basically the areas in red and pink here. Well, are what would be eligible, or the areas that would be eligible to apply. So again, residential buildings continue to be excluded, but that's further clarified. And this I won't get too much into. I was just asking the board to kind of consider, these are all the different types of spaces that we have. And again, we hadn't previously kind of called out who would be eligible. It was just a business enhancement grant. So really it was kind of determined that most entities would be eligible. It comes down to the building space that's being focused on. Eligible projects remain the same as in the past. Again, just further clarifying that residential properties are not eligible, but otherwise this is largely the same as it has been. I do want to highlight that completed project or cost incurred before grant approval are not eligible. So if you guys are talking to folks, please encourage them if they're interested, they need to apply and get approved before they do their project. We got a couple smaller requests. So the board of trustees was on board with allowing staff after that priority deadline to just kind of do administrative approvals for smaller amounts up to 2,000. Fraser Hair Company wanted $400 to replace their sign, and we had administratively approved that, and then if there's minor scope or budget changes, so generally less than 20% of the awarded amount or up to 2,000, allowing staff to make those calls as well. Project extensions, staff can also approve for up to 1 year. Our goal really is so that projects are done the year that the money is asked for, because otherwise that money could be going towards another project. But understanding that life things happen, it can be difficult to line up contractors, again, various reasons, that somebody can request with a good justification a 1-year extension on that award amount. So we would hold that award amount for them for the next year.
So a question on that. If like 80% of a project that was approved was able to be completed this year, but certain aspects of it were not because of contractors or whatnot, would that business be able to be awarded for the projects that they have completed and then roll over that one into next year?
So and I'm going to be following up again with current businesses that are still outstanding. We do say that the scope has to be completed to get reimbursed. So I think that would show that there's been good progress, but this wasn't able to be completed, so they could request an extension to complete the project in the following year.
Gotcha.
Does that answer your question?
Kind of. We'll talk.
Okay,
Yeah.
And these are just the different awards that were granted this year. I realize it's a little hard to read. Holiday Inn withdrew their application. Again, I need to follow up with some of these businesses because a number of these projects haven't been completed or have been partially completed. But you can see that the total award amount, if you included the Holiday Inn, was $122,630. So it was just under that $125,000. And if you take out the Holiday Inn who withdrew their application, it was $114,521 that was awarded. So any questions about any of this? We are going to be updating the website with this information, hopefully in the next couple weeks. And then applications will be open for next year. So would love to have you helping to kind of promote them. I think we'll follow a similar process as last year in terms of forming a subcommittee to review them. So we can talk about that next year when people have a more clear sense of their responsibilities and time commitments at the time in terms of if a couple of you would like to serve on that. Because last year we had Bill and Lori on it.
So we give the money out in advance, right?
No.
Or does it have to be invoiced for the
The
money?
work has to be completed and they have to submit receipts and it's a brief report. you know,
So
photos
then
and stuff.
some of this just didn't even go out then, basically.
Correct.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
it's
think the only one that I've actually like gotten all the paperwork from,
black tie.
no, Colorado Cord Dog Company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that looks great too. That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did that.
Yeah. So
Where's Moose and Merchant?
I was
That
thinking the same.
That's the new bakery that's going in behind the Birdie Lounge building back
Yes.
there.
So that's the merchants. That makes
The
sense.
merchants, yes.
yes, and they were hoping to be in
Insane.
their building by now. They are not in their building. It was one of the things that was quote cleaned up. Under current eligibility, they would not be eligible to apply next year because they didn't yet own or have an active lease on the property.
Is there
So
a,
again, it's one of those things that's been out of their control, but in the future they'd have to wait to apply.
right? And is there a way to create less work for the town? Because I feel like some people to pay out of pocket for just say grandkids would pay because you have to do a match, right? So it'd be
Yes.
$16,000. So they have to pay upfront 16 and then get the 8,000 reimbursed.
They do. And Grandkids was the one organization that got approved for a lesser match. Everybody else was required to do the 50%. So it is an out-of-pocket expense until they get submit their stuff for reimbursement.
And then
Um,
then you also deal with like situations, not to like rewrite the grant process right now, but my thought of, even the merchants with as many resources they have, you're delayed if the project's delayed, right? It's out of your control. I wonder if there's a way to better the application process to help that.
in terms of to help like make sure projects are happening.
Or like, is that just if there's not enough money that you can't guarantee it? Could it stretch into a 18-month grant thing? Does that make sense?
I mean,
Versus-
ideally, somebody would apply for what they're looking to do that year, and then they could apply the following year, for a different scope. Like,
Right.
they could break it into different scopes. And the conversation has continued to come up of can businesses keep coming back? And I think we'd all
Right.
love to see some of the businesses that have not applied and used it, use it. In my humble opinion, which I think some of our board at least agrees with, recognizing that it's expensive to do stuff. And so if you want to continuously improve your building, and do a little bit this year, a little bit next year, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? If that's what the business is able to accomplish in a given year.
Right. And it's amazing.
I don't know if I'm answering your question though.
No, you are. I was just seeing like the same problem keeps coming up, like if a
Yeah.
project's delayed or they don't have the upfront money, and then kind of what I witnessed in my firsthand experience. So I was just wondering if there was an element in the structure to assist with like back end administrative work to where it's just like an understanding. And I don't know if I get what I'm trying to say anymore.
Well, just as like someone that's applied for grants for the last 3 years straight, it does become like a priority at an exact time of year. And you kind of, once you do get a grant filled out, it's easy then to replicate, but it is really hard to initially
do it.
fill out like a full grant, especially the ones that are more extensive with the Grand Foundation. But once you do have it, Abby, I think it is easy and it's just about people being educated in doing it.
Right.
And so maybe, that could fall under another subject that we have coming up because I think that people just in the community aren't educated that they can do it, how to do it, and how quickly it can be done in the future once you kind of know how to do it,
Right.
And maybe that's just what I don't know if that was your question, but it kind of felt like
I think it's all encompassing.
okay.
And I feel for, just the administrative mental bandwidth to
Yeah.
deal with, that many businesses, because I feel like this will only become more popular, right? And you don't want to like burn bridges or whatever. So
Yeah, and I will say to your point, Abby, and we talked about whether or not we were going to continue to like accept applications on a rolling deadline. Some people thought like either they have their ducks in a row or they don't. Um, because it is a decent amount of administrative work. Antoinette is going to take on more of the administrative work, and I think she's honestly more efficient about it than I am. Because I will say I sent out grant contracts and expect people to sign them and get back to me, and I did not do a great job of following up 2 weeks later and being like, I don't have your grant contract, and I still do not have all the grant contracts, right? And we could be like, okay, either you get it to us by this date or you don't get your grant money, which would be a lot less work on our part, right, versus
Yeah.
following up, because we're trying to balance, I think, formalizing it a bit more with not making it overly burdensome on the business or on staff. And also that balance of, do you have to have all your permits and everything lined up and all your formal estimates when you apply? Or do we allow you to apply with a pretty good idea and then kind of do that afterwards, and kind of that front end versus more back end work, and what sets people up for the most success, but not wanting to require too much if they're doing the project is contingent on getting the grant funds and now they've applied for all these permits and they don't get funded for whatever reason and they've spent money on permits kind of thing. So I think it's definitely a dance there in terms of how formal you make things and what you require on the front end.
yeah, it's just part of the equation.
Yeah, but I think there are some things we could streamline to just make it more efficient on the staff side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to try to hopefully have more people completing the projects that they apply for, the years that they apply for it.
Yeah. Like maybe a list. Never mind. I'm gonna go keep going on that. I'll take a mental note.
And we do need to move to the next subject, I think. We've got like maybe 10 minutes.
Yep.
So ski ride and save promotion.
Yeah, so we can do this one quickly. As you know, last year we ran a little ski ride save promotion. Didn't really spend any money on it. We started it kind of late. I don't know that it got a ton of traction, but I think the work has largely been done, and I'm happy to reach out to businesses and see if they want to offer those promotions again, if we want to give it another go, and hopefully have it kind of ready by December when people start rolling in on the train to ski. If we wanted to throw a little money at advertising it, we can do that. And we do have that kind of budget for community outreach that kind of falls into a number of things, including kind of branding and marketing. But just wanted to see if you guys did think it was worth trying that again. And if so, I'll start kind of following up with businesses. And then you are also would be welcome and encouraged, any businesses that didn't participate, helping to spread the word and see if more people want to do it. We did a couple social media posts and printed some flyers and had it on our webpage. We tried to look into kind of more formal marketing, but we're a little late in the game for some things. And then the town's Facebook account also got hacked about this time, and also our advertising account. So we were not able to do any timely kind of digital advertising. So
I believe it would be advantageous to do it again, with proper marketing and like the timing on it. Because I know it was late last year and we didn't really have the opportunity to, but if it's possible to do any kind of advertising on the customer's like ticket or email or their ticket with the train, I think that would make a lot of headway. I don't know if Amtrak does that, but that would be probably the best like mode
Yes. So Amtrak,
media.
to do it like Amtrak wide, is another story. We have been trying to get to the ski train people to advertise, which my understanding is through the resort. Sarah's reached out a couple times for me, and we just have not gotten any response. So I will ask her to try to follow up again, because I agree. I think that would be the prime place to do it, right? But if anybody has any contacts or ideas there, feel free to share them.
Do we have any idea of what like the average Amtrak rider spends in our town over like a number of years versus like people that come up in their cars or
We
bus?
had the number and the percentage of overall ski train riders that got off in Fraser. And I don't remember that offhand. It was
Okay.
I think it was over 1,000. It was a small percentage of the overall ridership. It was maybe a higher number than expected.
So 1,000 people get off the train and hang out, or they like get off the train and then get back on.
No, these are people that are their stop.
Their stop.
Versus.
Yes.
Got it.
Like they are deboarding here versus at the resort.
Is
Okay.
that annually, per month, per week?
That was kind of over last winter
Okay, I kind
ski season. Specific to the ski train, yeah. Yeah.
Because yeah,
yeah.
I can
speaking
try
as
to
the-
find
as
that
the
number
parent,
again and share it.
The company
Or is there
that had my the promotion in there, I think we had one
Not there.
use. So
Right. Yeah. Totally.
total.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm just like wondering.
definitely want to try it again because I do think it's a good idea. The good people downtown, but
Are we getting?
we just need to advertise it.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, and I
I
think if we
feel
get
like
into
we need
businesses
I
early,
mean,
hopefully
try a couple years.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Get it going.
Right.
Yeah, I don't feel like we should quit yet.
And I
Yeah.
feel like looking at it more holistically would make sense too. So the Mustang and the Amtrak, and I'm being in the wedding industry, I deal with a lot of the Amtrak questions. People trying to coordinate with their guests on getting here. What is it like when you get off the train? Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot more to it than the advertisement. But when I look at my parents doing it, I think there's another element that we're missing where you could work with short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and having their care packages include the same type of information. So when you show up to your Airbnb, you have a bottle of wine, you have a welcome letter, typically for like the top of the line experience. And I don't even know if Doc Susie Apartments is considered top of the line. But if someone's staying for a week to a month, my parents usually stay for a month. They pay that full month, like 3 weeks of a rate. And so they are greeted with a welcome package. I think it'd be really cool for Fraser for, whatever it could look like, whether it's the same marketing materials for Amtrak, but it could put the same type of map concept and like make it a game, like get a sticker and like go to all these places, whatever it is that we were doing last year. I think you could make it more interactive if you got to the roots of it and then do the same concept for the Amtrak. Is that going too big?
Not necessarily. We would need somebody to do all of that. I know Sarah and I talked about, she had ideas about, you get like a token at each business or having a passport. So there are some
Right.
different things we could explore to add to it. I would say just whatever we do, making sure we have the ability to like execute it
Right.
well.
Digital passport would be the best option where they like scan a QR code at each business that they visit, and then it's like kind of a stamp on their like passport. And that
Yeah.
way they don't need a physical passport, they just use their phone. So that'd be an option.
Is
I know
there
Sarah probably knows how to do that.
Yeah.
a full report? Do we have access to the full report that the Amtrak, for the Amtrak head counts and age?
I have not seen that. I know our mayor was the one that had given me that number, so I can see what he actually has access to.
Because I do feel like a lot more people take the Mustang than I thought. Because
Yeah, and that's worth thinking about too, because it was meant to be for train passengers, even if it wasn't the ski train, even though that's what we were targeting. But I think it would totally make sense to do it for Mustang as well.
because then that would be like a cohesiveness and then
Yeah.
less mental work to just execute
Yep,
all at once.
I like it.
I don't know how you would get into short-term stays, but you could incentivize like a tax discount if they include the Fraser packaging to their welcome pamphlets, or online, you know, if they put their information on, put Fraser's information onto their listing. I don't know. I don't-
Yeah, why don't we revisit that one? That
Okay.
might be a larger discussion, but I mean, that's where most of our people in Fraser are staying, and why a lot of people are in Fraser, right? Is because that is where they have found their accommodations.
Correct. Yeah.
So capitalizing on that crowd. Alrighty.
Okay. So last we have come up conference idea initial discussion. We don't really have much time, but we can just throw it out there real quick. We brought it up last time. This was a idea that we had that was just basically aimed towards the people working 9 to 5s that feel like they have no way of coming up or getting out of their current situation or being more a part of this community, and then just kind of leading that conference with business owners such as yourself. Once a month, there's a new kind of talker. There's a new so there's someone else leading the conference that has made their way up through the community from resident, lifty, worker, whatever, to owning their own business, owning property. You know, it could be a number of things, real estate agent, being more involved in the community and just kind of making a way for yourself. That's the overall idea of that conference. Something that the DDA could support, and I don't think it would cost a lot. I went ahead and put together an outline. It's not a full outline, but it is a start of just kind of what that would include. I sent it to Sarah. I'm happy to share it with the rest of you, but I think that it could be added on to for sure.
Lombards, I did print it out.
You did.
So I can save these for the next meeting and email everybody, if you want to have a more full discussion, and that way you can look through some of the ideas and add to them in your mind. But I'm also happy to hand these out if people would like a paper copy now.
Can we put that up a little bit higher on the minutes? Because we talked a lot about it last time and I was really looking forward to it. So yeah.
We should put it.
Yeah, definitely. And
Agenda.
I had talked with Parks. The incubator thing kind of came up at the last
Yeah.
minute and seemed like a good fit. And the comp plan stuff was time sensitive. So knew that we probably wouldn't get into this really this time around.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, and I think the incubator conversation was just good to have anyways, and I think that that is something that the Come Up conference would use in the future as a resource to kind of push people towards. So I do think they go hand in hand. But anyways, is there any other business that we need to talk about or updates?
Well, one thing I will throw out was an idea, knowing that this was probably largely getting pushed. We have had a couple businesses reach out to the town about town business, kind of community engagement relations. In some ways that may be separate from the DDA, but I did tell them that, or told the person they reached out to that they reached out to Callie, our event coordinator, that they were welcome to come to DDA meetings and that the DDA might be a good platform for them. We could more formally though, just kind of invite the community. They're obviously always welcome to be here to our November meeting. And if we're discussing things like this, that might be a good thing to get kind of community engagement on, and maybe just offer coffee and pastries or something.
Sure.
That seemed like it would make sense. They did not, yeah. No, they just were, it wasn't specific to the DDA. I didn't actually see the email. They were reaching out about just better kind of connections with the town. So again, that may be a separate piece, but the DDA seems like a great place for those businesses to
Right.
have their voices heard and be involved and see if there might be a good fit for
And-
the GDA to do something that would make sense there.
And like in the Come Up conference, it's supposed to cover a part where you are getting more involved in the community and the town and how you do that, because a lot of people want to and they don't know how. And it's really not that difficult, but it is something that sometimes takes a little bit of a push. And
Yeah.
because you are putting yourself out there, as we know, right? Here we are now spending our time here. But, you know, it is super helpful. And I think that we do need to educate people on that.
Yeah, and I will mention, and I was planning to bring this forward in November as well, but so they had emailed Callie, who's been hired part-time by the town to help out specifically with events. And she works with Sarah. So I talked with Sarah and then with Callie about if she'd be interested in helping with DDA social media. And then if the DDA does want to do these conferences or any other sort of kind of events, helping out with coordinating those. Because just in terms of like staff manpower, I only have so much capacity for those sorts of things.
Right.
So she was excited and willing, and you know, there's some hours that we could use there. So she was going to come to our November meeting, but if the board is on board with that, I think that'd be a great way to kind of get that social media stuff off the ground and have a little more support if we want to do some more community engagement next year.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, me too. It'd be
Yeah.
under the professional services like budget to pay her then for her time.
So right now she has, it's only like 20 hours a month with the town, but she's only using those in the lead up to like Mural Fest and Fraser and Ice. So if we stay within those hours, it would just, for the time being at least, fall within the town budget and what the town is signed on to pay Callie.
Okay, we are 2 minutes over time here. Does anybody want to move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.